Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Champions round of 2022. I'm your host, Dan Turner. Joining me, as always, Steffi Smalls. What's up, Steph?
What's up? Been getting a lot more sleep now. The fantasy is over, so I feel pretty good today. How about you?
Lot less stress,
Yeah.
sleeping better. That's
Oh
good.
yeah. No
That's
more
good.
waiver wire nightmares. Waking up in the middle of the night in a hot sweat, cold sweat. What is it? Hot sweat, cold sweat, whatever,
Cold
whatever
sweat.
the terminology
Cold.
is.
I think you're cold.
Waking up in that and realizing that you need to pick someone up because every running back is hurt.
Yeah, it was a rough year. Really rough.
Rough.
But that's what we're here for. We're here to build through
Ease,
whatever
soothe
happens.
some pain.
What?
Soothe pain.
Yeah, through the pain. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and but it was fun. It was a fun year. Yeah, it was difficult and tough, and we started guys who we never even knew the names of before the season
It's true.
started. But overall, it was a fun time. What is up, Craig? Good day, champ.
What's
Euro
up,
champion,
Greg?
Craig. Euro champion. So today we're just gonna go over our how we did in fantasy this year and do our first annual award show. I'm really excited. Going to see who won our prestigious awards. But first, how did you do in fantasy this year overall?
Not as good as I would have liked to. But I did win two championships. That was very nice. But the end there was absolutely brutal, especially for me. I had a lot of quarterback injuries, was scraping the barrel there to be putting people in. So that really hurt me. But otherwise, it's okay. I feel like this was a very good learning season.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. For myself, out of 15 leagues I was in, I won one title, and that one actually had quarterback issues as well. It was a super flex league. I ended up playing Jared Patterson in the QB flex spot. He ended up getting me 20 points. I wasn't
Yeah.
complaining that badly. Yeah,
Well,
but
I,
it was
I
fun.
love not playing two quarterbacks in Superflex leagues. I'm like a total menace when it comes to that. So I'm here for it. But you start running into problems when you do zero QB and you like that strategy because then when Goff is out, Daniel Jones is out, Huntley, you're really trying to find a random person at that point.
Mm-hmm. You could have just ended at you were a menace and just period
Yeah,
there.
that's true. I mean, correct. Not, you could probably stop a lot of my sentences halfway through and they still
Yeah,
fall through.
yeah, most of them, honestly. I mean,
Correct.
yeah,
Correct.
but that's what we do. We enjoy the talking. It's part of the charm. All right, so moving on to the main point of this show, we have our first annual Champie Award show. I just made it up myself.
Yeah, I
We
noticed
call them
that.
the
It's very
champions.
creative.
Thank you. I feel like that
Well,
was sarcasm, and I didn't like it
it
very
was.
much. I don't. That's fine. I don't care. Your opinion doesn't matter to me. All right. So for the first award, we're going to start with our rookie of the year for fantasy. So who's your rookie of the year?
So I went with Chase here. I think because him ending the season that last week with over 55 points, where he was taken, what his ADP was. He also, I like for these awards, a lot of these guys that had a lot of competition because that always deteriorates people from going ahead and drafting them. So I love Chase. He kind of put all that Penny needed to be drafted stuff to bed. He finished wide receiver 5 on the year, wide receiver 1 that last week. So it's going to be Mr. Chase for me.
That's a good pick. It's funny, before the year started, and he was having like issues, like when he made that comment about like
The
the
balls.
ball, and everyone was like freaking out over it. And obviously, he was, turned out that he did pretty all right, all things considered, this year. So that's a really good pick. For me, it's a little bit of snow. I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He wasn't as highly drafted, if drafted at all, and it took like a couple of injuries for him to get going in Detroit. But when he got there, he really took it to a whole new level, especially in a critical time for us as fantasy players, because starting from week 13 on, he was racking up 25, 30-point games regularly. So that really helped. He had 4 touchdowns and he scored them all in that after week 13. So he did start slow, but if you held on to him and kept him around, you were definitely rewarded at the end of the season there, because he definitely helped you win a championship if you were able to make it that far.
Oh, yeah. Very good pick. He may or
Thank
may
you.
not get one of my other awards, but
Spoilers. Okay. Who is your waiver wire pickup of the year?
here we go. Back-to-back awards for Mr. St. Brown. He's going to be my waiver wire pickup. The reason why I didn't give him Rookie of the Year is, I guess, there's going to be a lot of talk and chatter about how he did, end up doing a little better. Is it because he started getting more targets and people got hurt? So I went with him as a waiver wire pickup here. He's still less than 80% owned in some leagues, which is kind of bizarre to me, but whatever. And it wasn't until I think it was week 13, we talked about in this show too, he was still at like 26% owned. And week 13 is when you saw his targets really jump. And from week 8, which the targets didn't go up to week 13, but week 8 after that, he finished as top 10, wide receiver 9. So from week 8 on, and I just like what he's doing. He hasn't dropped a ball since week 2. He's awesome. So he is the waiver wire pickup. If you had him, you likely won some championships. I know he definitely won them for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad we can agree on something.
But kind of.
Kind of. For my waiver wire pickup, I'm going to go with Hunter Renfro. I think in the beginning of the year, he wasn't really talked about much, if at all. To start, he had Darren Waller there, Henry Ruggs, even Brian Edwards was a lot of people's, post-type sleeper there for a while, and no one really mentioned Renfro. And he really didn't have that many like huge breakout games. I think he only scored like 20 something points a couple of times, but he was just Mr. Consistent. I mean, he was scoring 19, 17, 17, 12, 13, 20. He was never giving you the big games, but especially the way the season came out, where you had a lot of players that were much higher drafted give you absolutely nothing. Allen Robinson. But
Yeah.
so for him to be basically free in a lot of leagues for his ADP, he was definitely someone that if you picked him up and stay with him, he definitely helped me win a championship and make it far, and a couple of others. So he's definitely a good pick for me.
And he's an example of one of those guys, like he's not the fastest, the flashiest, like cool move, do a backflip.
It's boring, honestly. It's boring.
Duke out a million. No, it's just he's such a good route runner.
Yeah.
He's very skilled when it comes to getting the job done, and that's exactly what he does. He has a good chemistry with Carr, and he was really able to be unleashed this year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. Like, he's not a physical specimen in anything. He's not going to wow anyone, but he just runs really good routes, and he never drops the ball really. Yep. And that's all you can ask from a guy like him. So definitely a good pickup if you were able to get him. Who's your mid-round gem?
Oh boy. So I have some honorable mentions, but it wouldn't be me announcing my pick if I didn't say James Conner. James Conner finished RB8 despite not playing the past couple weeks. RB35 off the board in PPR leagues. RB6 before he did get that injured. I think he's leading, he's like the 4th most touchdowns in the league with 15. He's someone that everyone totally wrote off because of his injury history, which thank God he hung on until the end. But a lot of Arizona's success does also come from him. So for me, he was such a mid-round gem because depending on you see a lot of difference depending on who you're drafting with. Like I saw him going much later than consensus. So he was someone that I believed in. So he's getting my mid-round gem because to me, he was that, gem.
Yeah. He's actually in rushing touchdowns. He's actually number 2.
Very nice.
Rushing touchdowns. Only Jonathan Taylor has more rushing touchdowns than Conner does. That's a great pick, actually. I in the draft that we did in Canton, actually, he was at the waiver wire after the draft, and I ended up picking him up. And he was, I never once he got on that roll, he never left my lineup. So something like that, obviously. Going into next season, people are going to start screaming touchdown regression because that's what everyone does.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah. So, but for this year, you can't argue with what he gave you, especially those couple games where Edmonds wasn't playing and he had the role all to himself. He definitely produced.
Yeah.
And
he was still producing when Evans was there. A lot of people talking about that, but he's a perfect example of get your guys. Like he was one of my guys. I like James Conner. I don't care what the chat is saying. I'm going to draft him. And now you guys lost a bunch of games to me, so
I don't care. I'm better. You lose. The end. That's basically what that was. Yes. Yeah, but especially in this year when you had all these like 1st and 2nd round running backs that were either hurt or ineffective, to get someone like that in the later rounds, if you drafted well, you're if you for example, if you drafted obviously Cup and then Connor, and then Kelsey in round one, for example, if you went that way, you're winning your league. So that's the exact kind of a player where you can, he goes for value and where he's going, and takes you to the championship. So that's a good one for you. I like that. I like that pick a lot.
Thanks.
For my mid round gem, I'm going to go with Jamar Chase. I think when sat down to look at his stats, it was even better than I thought he did. Over 1,400 yards receiving, 13 touchdowns, less than 80 catches. That's phenomenal for a rookie. Yeah, we all thought he was going to do well because he had that connection with Burrow from college. But I don't think that, especially with Higgins and Boyd already there, that Chase was going to have this big of a year this soon.
Mm-hmm.
So going where he was going, I think in my home league he went round 7. So I think that for him to produce like that as a rookie, and to get him where he was going, that he was definitely a great mid round pickup.
Yeah.
And especially as you pointed out in the championship game where he annihilated a lot of people, myself included, with that
55.6 points. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he basically crushed
That's a
everyone.
murder.
It was. I felt murdered. I just threw up my hands and be like, okay, we're just done here. Like this is.
And you don't necessarily expect it. And this goes back to something we've talked about so many times on the show, is like, if it's a very effective offense that is fast paced, that scores points, like, it's okay to stack guys. It's okay to have Chase and someone else, to have both receivers on that team. That's okay because they are producing at that level where you're going to get points from them. He's someone where I got dragged. I won't say what league it was, but a lot of people were very upset with how high I took him, but I was okay with taking him that high. I'm okay, especially in dynasty leagues. I'm okay, taking these guys a little bit higher because they're young, and I know, the connection was always there. There was the talk about the O-line, but they've managed to do well without it. So the Bengals are a very beautiful fantasy team moving forward. I'm very excited to start getting more of those guys.
Yeah, 100%. I never understood the point against like stacking receivers from the same team. Like if they produce numbers, does it matter where they produce the numbers?
Of
like
course.
You're not going to get like a good wide receiver like 2 because he happens to be on the same team as your wide receiver 1. Like that's like you're not going to draft like Tyreek Hill because you already drafted Travis Kelce. Like that's like why?
Right. Exactly. And yes, there's some teams. Here we go again. Like the New York Giants, right? You're not going out and getting Kenny Golladay and Sterling Shepard and Darius. Like, you're not going to, first of all, you're going to give yourself a headache. Second of all, you're not going to get production out of all of them. It's not going to happen. They're not that type of offense. They barely get into the end zone. But if we're talking about the Vikings, if we're talking about the Bengals, teams like that are very effective, then we have a different story there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, there are different strategies, but if the player produces, like, it shouldn't matter, except for like bye weeks. If you have bye week considerations, that I could see as a point, but you shouldn't take people off your board just because they happen to play for the same team.
Right.
All right, and last but certainly not least, who is your fantasy MVP?
Yeah, we're definitely going to have the same one. It's Cooper Kupp. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, very strong argument there, but this is the overall fantasy leader. Played every single game this season, averaging 25.8 points per game. He also is the wide receiver 1 by 80.1 points or so. What Cooper Kupp did this season, regardless of situation, regardless of game outcome, regardless of what was going on, regardless of having other, splitting, whatever you want to call it, with other players, he still was able to produce. He still came, he came off the board overall, like 44th player off the board. So he's definitely blown all of that out of the water. So it's impossible to not put him as the MVP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, just looking at the numbers is just ridiculous. 138 catches, 1,829 yards, and 15 touchdowns. He scored, I think, 412 points. He's 2 points off Jerry Rice's record for best wide receiver season in fantasy history.
Yeah,
and that's just insane compared to where he was. Like no one thought that Kupp was going to be this good ever in
Well, there was the
any
Robert
sense.
Woods debate, you know, and
Yeah,
then
that was me. I thought Robert Woods was going to
yeah,
have this kind of season. I was all in on Woods, and I was completely wrong. But the fact that Stafford ended up being exactly what Cup needed, and they had that connection right off the bat, and he
yeah,
has not looked back. It is
right,
just insane the amount of points that he generated. Another thing, that you pointed out, how much farther the gap between the wide receiver one and wide receiver
80.1.
two.
Like we're not
Yeah,
talking
I
5,
think the two is
10,
Devonte
15.
Adams, who got
80 freaking points. Like that is not insignificant if I can get my freaking words out. Is it's really not. I mean, he's the clear leader across the board. I don't know what the gap was there between him and Josh Allen, but still, he's a guy, and it kind of reminds me of Hunter Renfro in the sense that it's not this flashy name that everyone's talking about, that's glorified. But he gets the job done when he gets the ball. He's consistent and he gives you exactly what you need.
Yeah, he just gets open. That's what it is. Like halfway through the season, especially when Woods went down, you knew the offense was going through Cooper Cup, and no
Mm-hmm.
one could stop him. He got
Yeah.
better, in fact. He did even better later on the season
Yeah.
than before, and it was just it defies logic, the kind of
Right.
season that Cooper Cup had.
And a lot of it too is I don't know if you've heard him in some of these post game interviews, but his football IQ is so high, and like to another level. He understands the game in like every little piece, and the way you hear him talking about the game, like he is just this his own subsection of a wide receiver, despite not having this flashy name that everyone likes.
Mhm. I mean, just to put it in perspective, we played 17 weeks of the season. There have been 3 of those 17 weeks where he scored below 21 points.
Oh my
Just
god.
3.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen in fantasy, in any position. You'd
Right.
have to go back to, in recent memory, probably McCaffrey's 2019 season or something LT did back in the day to get
Right.
to appreciate the kind of just complete dominance that Cooper Cup has had this year from the
Right.
receiver position.
So, question, throwing a
Answer.
question in. Um, are in Dynasty, like, are you trying to sell him? Are you trying to acquire him? Or is that value or price going to be a little bit too steep for you?
I'm not trying to buy him right now just because, in my opinion, you shouldn't buy people off while in the middle of record-breaking seasons or coming off record-breaking seasons. I'll probably wait a little while and then try to get him. I'm definitely not selling him if I have him. I know I understand the school of thought where you wait till the guy's at his peak and then sell him because he's probably not going to recreate this year. And they're probably right. He's not going to recreate this year. But the fact is, for what you probably got, the cost you put into acquiring him and his return, I would take a lot for me if I had him to get rid of him. And I know people are going to be overcharging for him at this point.
Right.
So if I have him, I'm holding him. If I don't, I'm not going to be looking to acquire him until probably a little bit later.
Yeah. He's one of these guys where it's like, if I have him, keeping him. And then otherwise, I might try and get him when there's some kind of panic, right?
Yeah,
He does something in camp that everyone freaks out, or maybe week 4, he has like some kind of regression,
yeah,
and that's maybe when I'm gonna go out. I like to get guys when Twitter is panicking, when they're the trending topic of, oh my gosh, get rid of him, get rid of him. And then, but otherwise, people are gonna be asking for a lot for him.
yeah. No, absolutely. I mean that time frame that you stated around week 4 or 5 next year, when he isn't duplicating this pace, is probably going to be the perfect time. Will he still be a great receiver? I think so. I don't think he's going to repeat NFL record numbers year to year. I think that's a lot to ask for him, but it doesn't mean that he can't still be an elite receiver. I think he's definitely moved up um, dynasty draft boards for wide receiver overall. I wouldn't call him wide receiver 1 overall,
Mm-mm.
but I think that he's definitely moved up into that elite class of receivers where you don't mind taking him pretty high.
Right.
Uh,
There's
in,
finally some respect put on his name type
right,
of ordeal.
exactly.
And we see
Yeah,
what Devonte Adams does so he's an example. It might not be the same every year, but he is someone that you can definitely rely on.
yeah, and that's another thing. What's happening around him? If if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back to Green Bay, like what happened to Devonte Adams? Like, are we still taking him as high as we take him like in past years and
Hmm.
stuff like that? So I think, and it's not even the fact that he scored so high; it's how consistently he did it.
Right.
Like,
I love consistency. I don't
he,
care. What am I
he
getting
did,
on a weekly basis? Who are the players I don't have to worry about? So I have a couple spots on my lineup that I can stress out about, waiver wire to death, and like think it through. But can I at least be consistent with some guys?
yeah, it's the entire. It's 90% of the argument for why Kelsey is sometimes a first round pick, and why people take him as high, is because he's consistent in a position that's not as strong in tight end, and
Mhm.
and to have the kind of mind blowing like consistency where you're guaranteed at least 21 points a game, week to week, is like, and it didn't stop. Like we all expected that him to have a drop off, and just never came. Like
Mhm.
he just got 30-point games and 40-point games, and just,
Mhm.
and like you said, the consistency for me too is very important. I'd rather have like that's why I like Hunter Renfro too. Like he never was,
Mhm.
an elite, like 30-point guy, but he was giving you 15 to 18 points every single week.
That's like Adam Thielen, right? He's another
Right.
guy. Before he got
Exactly.
hurt, it's like, yeah, talk about touchdown. These guys don't really count in the touchdown regression world because they're just consistent. They get enough to be very relevant in fantasy. There's beautiful floor there, even at the low end of their floor. You know that there is some also ceiling there. So those guys are really important, especially something to start thinking about. As I know everyone's starting to already want to do startups and
Uh-huh.
move forward, is get those consistency guys.
Yes. Redraft has been over for 3 seconds, and we're already into startups
I'm like
again.
itchy, like I need to draft.
I think there's a medicine for that. You should probably take
Yeah,
some
the
some
medicine is that
startups.
fantasy isn't over at Champions
Not,
Round, and you
it's
should
not,
download
never,
the app because
never
we
over.
have more fantasy that continues through the playoffs.
Absolutely. Yes, that's right. Um, so what do you expect from Cup next year if you were projecting? I know
I
this is
think,
a random question, but I just want to know your opinion.
yeah, I think he still finishes top five. I don't think that's outside of his realm of possibility. Finishing in the manner he did with some young guys that look very promising to make some pretty big leaps is maybe not. I'm not going to say not possible because he could very well do it again.
Mhm.
But he's got to stay healthy a lot. I mean, the Rams are a pretty consistent team too, and when they're not first cup, that offense just runs through it. So I think as far as fantasy goes, considering him top five, definitely top 10, is a reasonable expectation.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he'll probably be drafted at it like towards his ceiling. So I might not get as much of him next year as I want, but I think that he'll still, as long as Stafford and the offensive system is there, produce. I know Woods
Yeah,
is
I'm
going to
excited
be
to see what his ADP ends up being. Actually,
back. One. It'll be one.
ugh,
Somebody. People are going to draft him first overall. You know that.
yeah, I'm
You
not
know
there.
that.
I'm not there. I
No.
don't think I don't, but I'm always like that too. I'm not the person that's gonna take the bit. I've never, for example, think about how. Sorry, I don't know how to say this
No. Go
in.
ahead.
Like, how many people like seriously drafted Patrick Mahomes 101? He did not give you that. So I would rather go for value. That's why I don't really like drafting towards the top of the draft. I never really do. Anytime I'm in a draft, I'm the 112 regardless. But so I know the back end very well, 111. But I don't like those beginning picks because there's so much room for error. They're very volatile players because they don't always end up being. Josh Allen is finishing where everyone wanted Patrick Mahomes to. Patrick Mahomes also didn't necessarily do that as many years as everyone thinks. But again, this is where flashy names come in.
Yeah, and I think like his like ascension, and the fact that a lot of the big name running backs disappointed this year. I think it'll be really interesting to see where a lot of like the bigger name ADPs end up coming out for next year.
Yeah.
Um, because I think with especially with some people moving around like Rodgers and stuff, it'll be interesting to see how the shakeup everything, and how people treat those running back injuries. And
Oh my gosh, I want the quarterback chaos to start. I'm ready for it. I need
you're,
it now.
you're like vibrating.
I'm so excited. We thought last year's is gonna be so psychotic. It's gonna be
Oh yeah, it's gonna
freaking
be
awesome.
it's gonna be anarchy. It's gonna be great. Can't wait.
Yes.
Can't wait. All right, so that'll be it for the show. Hope you enjoyed our award show. There we go. But before we leave, we have another wonderful contest coming at you from.
I thought you were gonna forget. I'm so happy.
I wasn't gonna forget. I just wanted to do it at the end instead of the beginning, so
okay,
people have
fine.
to watch
Go.
the entire show to get there. So I'm smart.
Okay.
We're excited to announce this week's giveaway. If you want to be entered for a chance to win a signed Rondale Moore jersey, DM us on Instagram with the secret phrase "more, more, more" before Sunday night to be entered. So basically, just DM us on Instagram more, more, more MORE, and you'll be entered to win.
Love it. Do it.
I love it. Also, check out Champions Round. We're still, as Steph said, we're still on throughout the playoffs. We're doing some boost ball playoffs. If you are still scratching that fantasy itch, the season is not over at Champions Round. So check us out. Check out our stuff. We're going to have some great stuff in the works to give you guys to keep you interested in fantasy all year long. So definitely download the app and check us out. Steph, where can everyone can find you at Champions Round? I don't know why I keep asking.
Yeah, it's okay. You guys can find Dan and I in Alabama in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So we are going to the Senior Bowl. We're so excited. But yes, we'll also be back on Friday, 4 p.m., doing another show. Not sure what we're going to be doing during that. Someone already messaged us the secret code I just got. So thank you, Jeff, for that. But yeah, so you guys can find us Friday, and then you can find us in Alabama in a few weeks, and all my stuff at Stephie Smalls 3Ls.
Yes, you follow me on Twitter at EagleDanFF. All my stuff is also on Champions Round. We're going to give you some, as I said, now that redraft season is over, we're really excited. Both Steph and I and everyone else on the team, we're excited to give you a lot of more things as we head more towards Dynasty season. So definitely tune in and keep up with us for all the exciting things. And as Steph said, we'll see you on Friday. Can't wait for mobile. It's going to be great. South Alabama University, talking with Kenny Pickett. Have a good day.